wondered how to stay calm in a situation or how to stop overthinking or how to build real confidence? Here's how. I am here to tell you how to actually build confidence. Most people have it backwards. Confidence is the output, not the input. A lot of people ask me, Leila, how do I build confidence? And I get it because it's just like, everyone's like, oh, believe in yourself. You just need to believe in yourself. And they think that you need to write these affirmations on the bathroom mirror every morning. And listen, that's what I did when I was in my early 20s. I literally did this. I had it written on my mirror. It was like, I am beautiful. I am strong. I am capable. I am confident. And guess what? Nothing changed. It didn't do anything. Having those things written on my mirror didn't do jack for how I felt the rest of my day. And the reason for that is because confidence comes from action. And that's why I say so often, F your mood, follow the plan. Because if you keep the promises that you make to yourself, especially when you don't feel like doing it, that's the input that leads to the output of confidence. And that's what most people miss. They're so busy chasing the result. It's like, if you think about it, if somebody's like, I really just want to be skinny, right? And so that all they do is just like thinking about being skinny, wishing they could be skinny, but you're like, just get in the gym, get in the gym, do the workout, eat the food. You can't just wish for it, you have to work for it. So I'll give you an example. At the age of 21, I moved across the country. I had no job, I had no money, and I had no clue what the hell I was doing. I certainly had no confidence in myself, and I wasn't confident in my ability to pull it off. And so what I did is I said, okay, I'm at least gonna put together a plan. So what I did is I moved to California. I got an apartment, and then I looked for every place that I could work, which was a gym, because I had my degree in exercise science, within walking distance. And I had to do walking distance because I was like, I can't afford to pay for too much gas because I don't have money. And so I ended up getting a job at 24 Hour Fitness. And when I got the job, what I realized within the first 2 days was that the job wasn't about fitness. It wasn't about everything I'd learned. It was actually about marketing and sales. And I was terrified because I was like, I have no idea how to do marketing and sales. And I felt like this complete imposter syndrome. I just felt like an out of my body experience because I was like, how am I supposed to do this? But at the same time, what I'm seeing is my bank account. Every single day I had $5,000 and just down, down, down. My rent was $1,400 a month. Food, gas, everything else, insurance, paying off my student loan debt, all those things. Every single month, I was like, I've got 3 months. And so I was like, I have to learn how to do this. And the thing is that I knew, I was like, I don't want to be the person who walks out. I don't want to be the person who quits because I knew that was just going to make me feel worse about myself. And so I put in the reps. I said, I'm going to read 5 books on sales. I'm going to be there at 4 a.m. I'm going to leave at 9 p.m. I'm going to drill. I'm going to take every opportunity to meet with somebody who's better than me. I'm going to take all the opportunity possible to learn the skill. I was so nervous the first time I went to make my first sale that I went into the bathroom because I thought I was going to throw up. I went into the bathroom. I didn't leave. I didn't quit. And what happened was that I was absolutely fucking terrified for the first 30 days. I remember the moment where I made my first sale and my manager, my team, everybody came, they all crowded around me and they were like, you did it. And what was crazy was that none of the celebration mattered. It wasn't the fact that everyone was congratulating me. It wasn't the fact that I made the money. It was the fact of how I felt about myself. It was like this vision that I had of my future self just got pulled into reality. And every belief I had about myself was broken right then. I didn't believe that I could make money. I wasn't confident in my ability to sell or to market until the sale happened. And all of a sudden, it was like more of what's possible came to mind for me. Like I started to think about other things I could do. I started to think about other skills I could acquire. I started to think about other things beyond the box that I had built of the vision of myself. That's absurd to think that if I was just reading affirmations in the mirror, that I suddenly would have been good at sales. Like I put in the reps to get good at sales. And here's the thing, success does not discriminate. Confidence does not discriminate. It doesn't care where you've come from. It doesn't care about your background. It doesn't care about your experience. All it cares about is the fact that you put in the work to get it. So if you see people, right, you see people when you're younger and you're like, how is that person so confident, right? Like given all their circumstances, maybe what they look like, maybe their job, their career, they've done work that you haven't done. And that's the thing. You have to work for it. You have to put it into existence and you have to make it happen. Here's the thing. Your brain gathers evidence, and evidence is what builds the identity and confidence over time. So someone says to me, Leila, I want to go and speak at this event, but I'm not confident to speak at that event. I said, it would be absurd to think that you would be confident when you've never fucking spoken on stage before. Of course that's not going to happen. Our brains like to predict what's likely to happen. If you've never done something before, your brain says, I don't know what could happen, so I'm gonna make you scared. And if you're scared, you're gonna avoid it, which means that you won't die, right? Because our brains are wired for survival, not success. And so it is crazy to think that you would actually have confidence when you haven't done the thing yet. You will become confident once you've done the thing because your brain does it, it sees you didn't die, and it says, it's okay, you can do it again. Now here's the thing, I wasn't like forever confident now, because just like a muscle that you work out gets weak if you don't put it under pressure, so does confidence. Confidence is like a muscle. So if you don't work out that muscle, it's just gonna get weaker and weaker over time. So if you want to build unshakable confidence, then you need a habit that tracks the truth, not your mood. Now, what do I mean by that? When I was 100 pounds overweight and I wanted to lose that 100 pounds, I said, you know what? I'm just gonna freaking start doing what fit people do. I'm gonna eat the way they do. I'm gonna work out the way they do. I'm gonna try and even dress the way they do. And I'm gonna hope and pray it actually works, right? Because I'm sick of being fat. But the most important thing I started doing is I started tracking every single day what I ate when I worked out. It's not that within the day, I lost 50 pounds between Monday and Tuesday, right? But I did notice that even if I felt like I overate, or even if I felt like I was slacking, or even if I felt like my workout wasn't perfect because I was on a trip, I still consistently tracked and I still saw progress over time. Now, maybe it wasn't between Monday and Tuesday, but I could see it between Monday and Monday, or Monday and 2 Mondays from now. And so I saw that the line wasn't like this, the line was like this. And over time, I did make a lot of progress. And that's when I realized confidence comes from data, not dopamine. And over time, what happens is that evidence that you're feeding your brain helps override the emotional narratives that you tell yourself. Your brain will follow the evidence. And so tracking things and tracking our progress, the reason why it keeps people on track is because your brain looks at it and it objectively says, oh wow, this is evidence, this is data, this is important, and I'm going to believe it. Before that, all that's happening is that you feel like even when you're making progress. Have you ever felt that way before? Have you ever felt like you're making progress, but you still feel like good about yourself? Lots of people actually feel that way. And the reason why they feel like is because they don't track their progress, because progress doesn't go like this. So you remember the days that you feel low, but you don't remember the days that you feel high. But if you look at the progress and you track, you see all the days that were high. And then you're like, oh, you know what? I actually had 5 good days this week and only 2 bad ones. But it's just that our brains love to take the negative and make it bigger than it is. And so we have to fight that natural tendency by tracking our wins. Now, here's the thing. If you're struggling to stay consistent and you're like, I am tracking things, but I still don't feel confident and I don't feel like I'm making progress, then my guess is this: you're trying to go too big. You're taking too big of a leap. The fastest way to build confidence is to start with something small, so small that you can't lose. Okay, a great example of this is I had a friend who every single time he started with a new client, and this is a client who's trying to lose weight, he did not get them to try and eat less the first week. He didn't get them to try and go to the gym the first week. He didn't even have them measure themselves the first week. The first 7 days of his program, he just asked them to make their bed and take a picture. Isn't that crazy? Now, why is that? Because he wanted to make it something so easy and so small that he knew that by the end of 7 days, they would feel good about the fact that they had made their bed every day. And so what that did is it created the confidence in that person so that they felt like they could take the next step. And people think, oh, it's so small, I'm not gonna feel the reward of it. That's not the case. That's not how it works. You will feel good no matter how small the progress was, as long as you get the reward. For example, every quarter, every 3 months in my business, I decide what are my goals for that quarter, right? And it's like, okay, I have these 3 or 4 big goals that I have for the quarter that I'm gonna tackle. But it's not that I just look at it and say, did I hit it, yes or no? I take each goal and I break it down as small as possible. And then every single day I go in and I'm like, what have I accomplished on the way to my goal? If I have 20 steps in each of the goals I have, I get to go in and I get to hit check, check, check. And it's funny because if I look at these goals, it feels very overwhelming until I realize that almost every day I'm checking off at least one piece of one goal. And that has helped me so much in realizing that if I